What is going on, everybody? Good morning. Hopefully, everybody's enjoying their Wednesday, October 16th at 8 a.m. Thank you for hanging out on this Wednesday morning. Always appreciate you guys hanging out. I don't care what time it is. Maybe last night you were hanging out doing a little Lakers, Golden State Warriors post game show action here on YouTube, which, by the way, could have been one of the most boring games I've ever watched in my life, but I still watched it. That's the commitment that I have. Good morning, everybody. Grab your cup of coffee. Go ahead and let your significant other know that, hey, from 8 to 9 a.m., you got some other stuff going on. Maybe after 9 a.m., you can start talking about the family and everything else. Let your employer know, hey, I'm down to work here, but 8 to 9 a.m., I'm not doing a thing because Sliwa has his show from 8 to 9. So let everybody know. Thank you for being here. If you've yet to subscribe to the channel, what the hell are you doing? Subscribe to the damn channel. Subscribe to the damn channel. That's all I'm asking for here. We got a good show lined up. We got a really good show lined up. John Hartung, who is a part of the Dodger channel on Spectrum, a part of the pre and the post game show. I've got to know John over the years, and I'm looking forward to have him on. He's going to come on at 8:15. So, and I think it's only going to be audio. So just a heads up on that. But John is going to join us, and we're going to talk about this Dodgers-Mets game, his confidence level on Walker Buehler, some other questions that I have just in general about the lineup and everything else. So we got some good stuff there. If you got some questions for John that you want to throw in, go ahead and throw them in right now, and then I could ask John during the show. I want to do that a little bit more, where if somebody has a specific question for John, baseball related, then we can line up some questions for him. Also got some Lakers stuff that I do want to get into. Realistic. What's a successful season for the Lakers? I know what Laker fans are going to say. I already see it. Well, Al, if you don't win a championship, bro. I get that. I know that. I know the Lakers. I know they have 17 NBA championships, but you don't win championships every year. So I want to hear some more realistic expectations. I want to hear what you guys would deem a successful season if they don't win a championship. All right, what has to happen this year in order for you to look at them and say, you know what? Yes, they need to win championships. They're supposed to win championships. Yes, it's a prestigious franchise. However, that wasn't a bad season. And whatever those reasons look for, I kind of have a little bit of map how I want to get there. So Dodgers versus Mets, game 3 coming up. Guess what time the game's at? I don't know if you guys know this yet. Really, really creative. I love what all these networks have decided to do now with every single game. Game's going to be at 5:08, not 5:10, not 5:05, 5:08. 5:08 is going to be first pitch. First pitch at Citi Field. Mets, Dodgers, a critical game 3. I say critical just because, it takes that 2-1 advantage. I don't think the world's going to end if, the series is not over either way. If Dodgers lost this game, I wouldn't tell you that the series is over. If Mets lose this game, I don't think the series is over. But I think Mets are going to be more desperate to try to get this game. Couple things that kind of come to mind here, and I'm going to kind of just rattle off a few things here. When I typically have a guest on, like I do, John Hartung, like I mentioned, is coming on at 8:15. Usually when I have a guest, now I got to get as much as I can in. Because once my guest comes, then I become a host. And if I'm going to become a host, it's a little bit different. Quick recap of game 2 and, something that I said yesterday, and then I want to talk about Walker Buehler. So real quick yesterday. Top of the morning to everybody. Sometimes I get going. Once that engine gets started, I can't stop it. I forget a little bit. I forget that there's people here hanging out. I mentioned this yesterday. I would not be concerned about how the Dodgers lost game 2. I wouldn't. If I'm a Dodger fan, which I am not, I want to make sure that everybody understands that. I am not a Dodger fan. I'm a San Diego Padres fan. We started our vacation a little bit early this year. We're at an all-inclusive resort right now. We're already talking about, hey, what do you want to do for lunch? Want to grab a margarita in the pool? We're in Cancun. I wouldn't be too concerned about what happened in game 2. And let me just give some of my reasons why. And I think the couple things that stood out to me in this game. Landon Knack was the problem. It wasn't the entire pitching staff. Landon Knack was the issue. It wasn't, your best arms and your best relievers that you've been depending on all of a sudden didn't come through. You had one dude that you had to use at some point, especially in a 7-game set. and he was awful. And he's also a rookie, and probably is not going to get too many high leverage situations the rest of the year. I would imagine that's not going to be the case. If you see Landon Knack again this series, you're probably going to see him because somebody's up by 4 or 5 runs, or maybe even more than that, and the game does not have a critical situation. That's why the Dodgers lost game 2. Here's another reason why the Dodgers lost game 2. And again, something that I wouldn't be overly concerned about if I'm a Dodger fan coming into game 3. The top 5 guys in your order went 0 for 19. Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Teoscar Hernandez, throw Will Smith in there too because he's bad 5. They went 0 for 19. Is that going to happen in game 3? Of course it's not. Could they very well, those 5 guys, or just take the top 4 in that lineup, could they very well walk away today with 4 or 5 hits in that top 4? Sure. Could they be 4 of 15, something along those lines? Dodgers, I think I'm trying to think off the top of my head. They were either 1 for 9 in runners in scoring position or 1 for 11 in runners in scoring position. Dodgers lost that game just because it wasn't a good baseball game for the Dodgers. You had a rookie pitcher that really effed it up for the Dodgers in that second inning, giving up that grand slam. And then you had your top guys not be able to hit, and nobody hit with runners in scoring position. That's why they lost the game. I don't think there's going to be any momentum from whatever happened in game 2 that's going to carry on to game 3. Game 3, I saw a lot of articles, and I was reading a lot of stuff this morning in the LA Times, and I asked this question yesterday, and I asked Dodger fans, how do you feel about Walker Buehler getting the ball right now? Critical game, game 3, a chance to kind of take control of the series and steal home field back, or you fall down 2-1, and now all of a sudden you're looking at probably a must-win game tomorrow to make sure you don't fall down 3-1. How do Dodger fans feel with Walker Buehler getting the ball in this game 3? Because LA Times would tell you that, no, this is perfect. This is a great situation. Always bet on that guy. Why the Dodgers have confidence in Walker Buehler. I feel like everybody's trying to sell me on Walker Buehler is still a really good pitcher and you feel great about him in this position. I don't personally see it. I don't. I understand the success that Walker Buehler has had in his past. And I think a lot of people, when they talk about Walker Buehler, are living in the past. They're talking about before the 2 Tommy Johns. They're looking at certain situations in the playoffs where he has been great and he has pitched in big-time moments. I just don't look at Walker Buehler the same way. Here's a couple stats on Walker Buehler. He's got a 3.4 ERA in 16 career postseason starts. That's good. This article in the LA Times kind of highlighted a couple of things. 7 shutout innings in Game 3 of the 2018 World Series against Boston. 11 innings of 1-run ball in 2 2020 NLCS starts against Atlanta. 6 innings of 1-run, 3-hit ball with 10 strikeouts in the 2020 World Series Game 3 win over Tampa Bay. We're talking about everything that's 4, 5, 6 years ago. So everybody that's there, and I did see some quotes, Max Muncy saying, how much confidence he has in him. I get that. I completely understand. Everybody's supposed to have confidence in him. Everybody's supposed to have confidence. They're supposed to say the right thing for Walker Buehler. However, I don't know how honest Dodger fans are being if they're saying to themselves, I got no problem with Walker Buehler in Game 3. The reason why Walker Buehler is pitching in Game 3 is because you don't have really any other options. And I'm not telling you that Walker Buehler is going to go out there and he's going to give up 8 runs today. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I feel like a lot of the articles and the stories I'm reading there, everyone's talking about Walker Buehler as if he's the Walker Buehler from 2018, 2020. I think the caveat needs to be, listen, the reason why you might have some confidence with Walker Buehler on the mound tonight at 5:08, not 5:05, not 5:10, but 5:08 at Citi Field, Dodgers and the Mets in Game 3, the only thing that would give me confidence as a Dodger fan with Walker Buehler is he's been there before. Big moments don't scare him. He likes situations like this. There's a lot of experience that Walker Buehler has under his belt. Look at it that way. And that's the only way that I think you could look at it, because he had 16 regular starts. He had almost a 5.4 ERA, and he was 1-6. I know that he's made some adjustments. I know his final 3 starts were a little bit better. And, frankly, he could have probably got out of that game against the San Diego Padres, where the Padres won that game 6-5, and he was tagged for all 6 runs. I don't think there was good. The defense for the Dodgers was awful, but Peralta still hit one down the line that drove into. Tatis still hit a 2-run homer off of Walker Buehler as well. So it's not like Walker Buehler was perfect. But my only issue that I have with Walker Buehler, I think you got to give this guy a ton of credit. I think he's got a lot of fight in him. I think he's tough. I think he's got a lot of experience, but he does not have that elite stuff anymore. So for me, when I'm watching tonight's game at 5:08, when I'm watching this game tonight, it has less to do with I'm not watching Walker Buehler saying to myself, wow, the Dodgers got a great chance to win this game because of Walker Buehler. There's more a curiosity. If you told me Walker Buehler threw 3 innings later tonight, gave up 4 runs, that's not going to be a surprise or a shock. I think the surprise to me would be, wow, they're 4 innings in at Citi Field, and Buehler's only gave up 1 run. And he's looked good in the process. And he's efficient with his pitches. And, guys aren't getting on base. And again, I think I'll go back to what I just said. It's not Walker Buehler's fault that the guys had 2 Tommy John surgeries. Unfortunately for him, the timing of this as well is interesting because the Dodgers and Walker Buehler, he's going to have the opportunity to go try to get a contract somewhere after this season ends. And I don't know what his market will be. I know teams will go after him and take chances, but he's certainly not the Walker Buehler of before. Buehler's postseason stats in the past, they cannot help him for tonight's game, but I'll tell you what it can do. His experience can. I just don't want to look at the past numbers with Walker Buehler because that name says Walker Buehler, but it's not Walker Buehler. That's not the Walker Buehler that Dodger fans are accustomed to. He's gritty. He fights. He's going to give you as much as he can. You saw after that inning, after he gave up that 2-run homer to Tatis in Game 3, he went back in the dugout, completely lost it, hallucinated, threw a couple of things, whatever he did. He's ticked off. This guy's a pure competitor. He's one of the best competitors, I think, on the Dodgers. He's been in the highest stakes before, and he's delivered. And now he's unfortunately in a situation where his stuff is just not the same. How will he be able to navigate that? I'm curious. I think that to me is another really good storyline in tonight's game. And who knows? Maybe the Dodgers give him some run support early, and he has an opportunity where not all the pressure is on him. Luis Severino, who's the pitcher for the Mets, last time he faced the Dodgers, he got rocked. I think gave up 7 runs in 4 innings. So maybe things do eventually go the Dodgers' way in this game, and Walker Buehler is all good to go. But I just felt like, from my perspective, I got no dog in the fight. I could watch this game and kind of just give my honest opinion. Every article that I'm reading is like not how great Walker Buehler is, but how much people are confident with him having the ball in this situation. I don't really see that, but we go from there. All right, let's see what we got here. Slee is going to be a Buehler believer tomorrow. You know what? Can I tell you something that's kind of tough? Anytime you do these shows, especially because people know that I'm not a Dodger fan, any criticism I have on the opposing team, everybody is going to think, oh, he's just hating. Come on. I just went on this is a solid rant right there. I think people can sit back and say, Al had a couple good points there. Al had a couple good points there. All right, let's see what he says. I think this is a great comment. Walker Buehler is hit and miss. And I think more times hit. I think more times they do hit him. Let's see what we got here. Hate to say this, but the Dodgers exceeded my expectations when they beat the Padres. The starting pitching. Let's see what we got here. But the Dodgers exceeded my expectations when they beat the Padres. The starting pitching is still atrocious, and they need good starting pitching to continue in the playoffs. Let's All right, I am texting here with John Hartung. He's having a little bit of trouble getting in here. Um, let's see. So keep you guys posted on that. Keep you guys posted on that. All right, let me get a couple more in these here. Heard it was, by the way, let me go back here real quick, actually. Hate to say this, but the Dodgers exceeded my expectations to beat the Padres. I don't know. I think whoever won that series, to be honest with you, was going to be the favorite against the Mets. So I'm not sure if that should have exceeded your expectations. But if you beat the Padres and you thought the Padres were going to be a bigger obstacle than the Mets, don't you now all of a sudden, don't your expectations start changing, taking on the Mets? Aren't you saying to yourself, wait a minute, we should be the ones now in the World Series because of that situation? So I think, I think there's a couple different ways to look at it. But once the Dodgers, I feel like most Dodger fans, once they got past the Padres, I'm sure there was definitely some optimism of like, okay, hey, we don't have to face the Phillies. I don't know how you guys felt about the Phillies. Phillies, I felt like at any moment can wake up and then that team's a problem. Dodgers don't have to go through the Phillies to get to the World Series. They get to go through the Mets. Mets a cool story. Mets, it's pretty amazing what they've been doing. But ultimately, I think at the end of the day, what they've been able to accomplish and what they've been able to do, those moments always come to an end. And sometimes you can ride that out to a World Series. You could be the Washington Nationals and ride that out to a World Series. There are other teams out there, obviously, been able to kind of ride that momentum. Arizona got to the World Series last year, whether they were the best team or they weren't the best team. So I think a lot of times that can change. All right, let me try to help John here real quick. All right, hopefully that he's able to make it happen here. Having some technical difficulties on his side, so we'll see if he's able to do it. All right, let me get a few more of these comments here, and then hopefully by the time all that goes down, John is able to join us. So let's see if he's able to do so. All right, just got to send him. Try another link here. We'll try another link. It's live, that's fine. It's live. All right, a couple more comments here, and then if we're not able to get John, we'll keep going and figure this out as we go. All right, got somebody heard it was like almost $200 just to go to the game today. Crazy. I don't think that that's crazy. That's kind of similar to how it was in San Diego. Dodgers in LA, it was a lot cheaper to go to a game than it was in San Diego. And I think that's because the Dodgers have made the playoffs 74 straight years. You know what I'm saying? So I think and you have 50 something thousand. I forget how many seats it is specifically, but I'm not surprised, especially when you got some of these other teams that either weren't expected to make the playoffs or are not in the postseason every single year. $200 is not crazy. Yeah, I bought just to get in that game one game that I went to. I think it was maybe 115, something like that. Significantly different. I think at San Diego was over 200 just to get in. So the 200 is not too crazy to me. All right, more people on the Walker Buehler stuff. Let's see what we got here. All right. Huh. Put Hartung on speakerphone. Am I going to have to come to that? What do you guys think? Do we do that? I was wrong. Everybody else I had on didn't have an issue with this. I want him on. I definitely want the guy on. All right, give me a couple minutes here. Let's see if he's able to figure it out. If he's not able to figure it out, then we could figure it out from there. But I'd like to have the guy on. I want to talk to him. Guy does. pre and post for all the Dodger games on Spectrum. Got a cool story about him, and then we'll figure out John here when technology fails. I did literally my first TV appearance that I did on Spectrum Sportsnet. John Hartung was filling in, so first time I ever went on there was with John. This was years ago, years past. Really good dude. A lot of times he kind of pulled me to the side and he would say that how much he liked what I was doing on radio at 710, like the Travis and Sleva show, the whole thing. So the dude's a really good dude. Always appreciate hanging out with him. So anyways, I love his opinion, especially on the Dodger front. All right, a couple more comments here, and then I'm probably going to you know what? Here's the beauty with live. Here's the beauty with live. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's just live. All right. Let's keep going here. As soon as we get him, let me get his thoughts here real quick, and then we'll keep it going. Check one more thing here. All right, I think we're good on that front. All right, let's see what he says here. Let's just get John on the phone. Enough is enough. Enough is enough here, guys. We're getting him on. Then you guys got to tell me if you can hear him well or not.
Alan Sliwa.
What's up, John? What's up, brother?
Well, just having some technical issues this morning.
A couple technical difficulties. Yeah, we got a couple. Here's what I'm doing now. Now I've, as we're doing the show and we're doing it live, and here I am promoting. I'm like, hey, John's on his way. John's coming right now. I had somebody come on and say, hey, Al, what do you think of just putting John on speakerphone here? I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, we want to have a conversation about the Dodgers and the Mets series. So we're going to put it on speakerphone.
Hey, whatever works. Sometimes you just got to make do with what you got. And for whatever reason, none of my devices want to download the necessary app this morning. So I don't know what's going on there.
Maybe I sent you a link that you should not be opening. That could have happened too, John.
Great. I got Trojan horse taking over my all of my devices right now.
How are you, brother? How's everything going?
Doing great. Game days, you know me, I get a little nervous because I'm a fan first and Dodgers host second. So, yeah, a little nervous when I wake up in the morning, but looking forward to Game 3 for sure.
Well, I'll tell you this, and I run into this a lot, and I think there's a little something on that's kind of actually it's a weird position to be in. And for those who know, obviously, John Hartung, pre and post Spectrum Sportsnet, covering the Dodgers. But one of the things that I think is actually kind of funny is when you are a fan and you are a fan first, and then the job comes, and I had to deal with this with the Lakers, and I know a lot of people that you work with there. Geeter, Chris McGee is kind of like a similar person when it comes to the Lakers. How difficult is it sometimes to kind of separate? Hey, I can't be emotional about a game when I'm about to go talk to God knows how many people that you have right now watching these games before and after. How tough is it sometimes to play in between that?
Well, first of all, it's impossible to say that I can't get emotional. Literally, when we're at the stadium, like Game 5 against the Padres, Nomar and Oral just sit there and they laugh at me because we're sitting in the dugout club and we're watching the game and we're talking about the game and we're breaking down certain things we want to talk about. And they just laugh at me because I get up out of my chair and I pace around. I pace around this area in the dugout club because I can't handle the stress of the moment. But in some ways, as I was telling them, it's kind of like therapy, being able to go on and talk about the game right away afterwards, so I can deal with it. Whether if it was a bad loss, it probably helps me a little bit more. And when they win, I'm just incredibly excited. But I don't handle the emotions very well, to be honest with you. During the game, I'm an absolute wreck, and Nomar and Oral would attest to that for sure.
Well, I think that's a good thing, and I really say that. I think especially doing what you do day to day. I love when, and I know you do this because I've watched you for years. It's not like your analysis changes because the Dodgers lost or the Dodgers won. You're still going to give your analysis, but you feel it. There's you can't make that stuff up, right? You can't. There's
Right.
no way of pretending that doesn't exist, and if you are a fan, it's inside of you. So I think I love that portion. I think there's a lot of times, especially on local broadcasts, to kind of have that affiliation, that connection, but still give your fair analysis. I think that's a good trait. Speaking of being nervous, Game 3 coming up at 5:08, and I know you guys will start your coverage well before that as well on Spectrum. I spent a little time, talking about Walker Buehler, and I'd love to just get your opinion, your confidence level. I guess the take that I would have is I'm reading a lot of articles about how confident the Dodgers are, how confident a lot of the players are, and I believe them that they're confident in Walker Buehler because of what he's done in the past. If you're going to be critical about Walker Buehler and this start in Game 3, can you give me both sides of it? Give me what makes you comfortable when he gets the ball on the mound for a big game like tonight, and give me the other side of it where it's not just what he's done in the past. You got to also look at where he is today, obviously coming off the 2 Tommy Johns. What makes you feel good, and what are some of the concerns for tonight's game with Walker Buehler?
Well, what makes me feel good, first of all, is that when it comes to October baseball, he's not scared. And Oral and Nomar and Jerry Harrison, they've talked about this many times. October baseball is not for everyone. You could have a guy that does really well during the regular season, and for whatever reason, when those brightest lights come on in the postseason, they don't handle it well. And Walker Buehler loves being out there in these big spots. He's proven it time and time again. Even when he was a rookie in 2018, he threw 7 shutout innings in the World Series against the Red Sox. And he was great in the 2020 postseason as well. And he talked about it yesterday. He loves the ball in moments like this, in hostile environments. And that's not something you can teach. And I'm also encouraged by the way he's thrown the ball recently. The command has at least been a little bit better. He still doesn't have a ton of swing and miss. Now, the Padres don't swing and miss a lot. That last start, he didn't have any strikeouts, and that's been more of an issue for him this season. But I feel more comfortable about where he's at right now as opposed to maybe a month or two ago. If you had asked me the same question, I'm like, oh, gosh, I don't know if Walker Buehler is going to be able to get through this one, because he's struggled so much this season, as you know, working here in LA and watching this Dodgers team. The second Tommy John surgery, and then he had a hip injury, which really derailed him. And it was a mental problem with him where he felt like, he admitted it, he didn't know if he was ever going to be able to get back to not just where he was before, but get back to being an actual major league pitcher, because he didn't feel like one earlier this season. And he didn't know if he could do this again. And say about a month and a half, 2 months ago, roughly somewhere in that 6-week area, he threw a bullpen in St. Louis. And he felt like something started to click there. Now, the results haven't been what they were in years past before that second Tommy John surgery, but he's in a much better place. He's got more life on his fastball. The command has been a little bit better. And we'll see how it all translates tonight. But like I said at the top, I know this. Walker Buehler won't be scared tonight in Game 3.
John, do you think how is today treated? I know Game 3 against the Padres was such a kind of a outlier. Gives up the 6 runs, but not all of it is on him. A couple defensive lapses, I would call it, from the Dodgers. A couple mistakes as far as decisions go of getting a sure out or trying to turn 2. But Teoscar ends up in the next inning hitting a grand slam, and the game is 6-5. It wasn't a blowout, and kind of the strategy changed, and Dave Roberts kept Buehler in a lot longer than you probably thought. Still ended up giving up 6 runs, but it was all early on. What happens in a game like tonight where it is Game 3? You have a bullpen that is very, very well rested and has been incredibly effective. How long of a leash does Buehler have if he's in some trouble and you're the 3rd, 4th inning? How quick does Dave Roberts decide to go to the bullpen?
it's just going to depend on what the eyeballs are telling Dave Roberts in that moment. He could tell that Buehler wasn't throwing the ball poorly in that start against the Padres. I mean, if Manny Machado doesn't make that heads-up play and that throw from Freddie Freeman deflects off of him, if he gets an out there and then Miguel Rojas gets an out on the next ground ball right after that, Walker Buehler only gives up one run in that inning. And I think the only really bad pitch he threw was the one that Tatis hit the home run on to make it a 6-run inning. But he was also being asked to get 5 outs in that inning and was probably a little bit fatigued in that moment. But Dave Roberts trusted how he was throwing the ball. That's why he put him out there for the 3rd inning. He went through 3 and 4 and 5 innings and didn't give up anything after that. The fact that it's a 7-game series instead of a 5-game series will also be a factor. And the fact that they have to play 3 days in a row. Dave Roberts is not going to want to go to his bullpen in the 2nd or 3rd inning with high leverage guys, knowing that he's got to have 2 more games right after this one, as opposed to in San Diego, they only had the 1 game the next day. And also Dave Roberts is looking at game 5. And ideally, in a perfect world, he could get a good start out of Buehler and a good start out of Yamamoto tomorrow. And if the Dodgers win at least one of these games, there's a chance game 5 won't be Jack Flaherty on regular rest. He would maybe go with a bullpen game there and then give Jack Flaherty some extra rest to be back here to pitch game 6 and then Walker Buehler a game 7. But a lot of that will be determined by how tonight goes and tomorrow goes. And but I wouldn't expect, unless Walker Buehler just doesn't have it tonight, I wouldn't expect a really quick trigger from Dave Roberts in this one.
I thought game 2, I was explaining a little bit earlier. I did it yesterday as well. Look, just not a great game for the Dodgers. The world's not going to end. Landon Knack, a rookie, gives up 5 runs, gives up the grand slam. The top 5 in the order go 0 for 19. It happens. It's Dodgers had won 3 games in a row before that, played pretty much perfect baseball. Obviously, we know about the 33 scoreless innings, other players getting involved. Anything from game 2 that stood out to you that is of concern going into game 3? Or do you agree that, hey, this just happens in baseball, nothing to really be too concerned about in that game?
No, I wouldn't be too concerned. I would just flush that one away, and I'm sure they have as well. Sean Manaea was incredible in that game, and they've seen Sean Manaea before. They saw him back in April, but it was a different guy back in April, different arm slot. This was nothing like the guy that they saw before. So even if they go and they use the technology they have now and they go to the batting cage under the stadium where they can simulate every pitcher, I don't think they've probably updated Sean Manaea's arm slot to what it was in game 2. And he was tough. He was commanding his pitches, and Shohei Ohtani just had a hard time seeing the ball against him. And there was another major league player, Brent Rooker of the Oakland A's. And this is when I know that, when major leaguers, they can recognize other great major league players, at least guys that are tough. And Brent Rooker even tweeted out that it must be a nightmare for any left-handed hitter against this guy. And he was talking about Sean Manaea during game 2. And he was that tough. He was that good. So I would just say flush that one away. Landon Knack had a rough start, or not a rough start because he came in the 2nd inning. He had a really bad inning, and things got away from them. They still had opportunities. They loaded the bases a couple of times. They just weren't able to get that one next big hit to really get them back into the game. And I'm pretty sure they've moved on from that one. They're looking forward to game 3 tonight.
What do you make of some of the overreaction of moving Shohei out of the leadoff spot? There's some stats out there. I think 0 for 19 now with nobody on, 6 for 8 with runners in scoring position in the playoffs. And I want to say 16 of 19 if you count some of those regular season games before. Give me what would be the strategy there of, just for me personally, why would you all of a sudden start shaking things up when really I don't think they need to? But what do you make of some of that chatter that's been going on the last day or so?
They're not going to shake things up. And Dave Roberts even talked about that, and we've talked about it on the show. You just need the guys at the bottom of the lineup to get on base, and they actually did a pretty good job of that. If you look at that game against the Mets in game 2, Tommy Edman had 3 base hits, and he was near the bottom of the lineup. So they had some opportunities in that game. Shohei Ohtani needs to be getting as many at-bats as possible. That's why he's in the leadoff spot. And also sometimes pitchers can be scared out of the strike zone. And so if you walk Ohtani, then you've got something going with Mookie Betts, and you've got Freddie Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez behind him. But Dave Roberts has already said, I want that guy getting as many at-bats as possible. Just get some guys on base. The whole 0 for 19 with nobody on, that's just a fluke thing that's happening right now in a smaller sample size. And everything will even itself out over time. But, I don't think there's going to be any shakeup, at least in the top half of the lineup. If Dave Roberts wanted to do anything, he might move Will Smith, down a spot or two in the lineup because he hasn't been swinging the bat all that well recently. But beyond that, it's going to be pretty much the same as we've seen.
John, final one for you, brother, and I appreciate you taking some time, joining the show. Look, we fight through technical difficulties. You think this is the first time or the last time? I mean, it's part of the show here.
I feel bad, Slee. I feel bad, man.
No, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad at all. I got a great photo of you right now on StreamYard. I mean, this we recovered on this, but I want to just get your your final thoughts on the rest of the series. A lot of Dodger fans who are thinking to themselves, hey, could this be the year you get past the San Diego Padres? You didn't have to play the Philadelphia Phillies. And don't get me wrong, New York's they've been one of the hottest teams in baseball for a couple of months now. How do you feel about the rest of this series, specifically against the New York Mets?
Well, as Dave Roberts says, when he comes out and says he has more belief in this team than any team he's had in his tenure here with the Dodgers, and that includes obviously 3 teams that have gone to the World Series and one of them that has won it, I think everybody's ears kind of perked up when he said that, because his team has had to overcome so much all season long. The injuries have just been ridiculous. And even going into that Padres series, we all wondered, how are they going to get through the series with the pitching situation that they have? And then, of course, they set a major league record for a number of scoreless innings. I feel good about where they're at right now. There's not a truly great team left this year in the playoffs. I think everybody's got some flaws, or everybody's dealing with some kind of injuries. And I like where they're at. If they can if they focus on these next 3 games the way they do during the regular season, and the goal is always, let's just win every series, and you break this long 7-game series into maybe 3 different series, just take 2 out of 3 in New York. If they take 2 out of 3 in New York, you come home and you've got 2 shots to get to the World Series. I like where they're at. The Mets are a really good team. They're a hot team. They're playing with all of that OMG, juju, whatever you want to call it. And I think it's going to be a long series. I think it's coming back here to LA, and I have no idea how it's going to work out. But, some of that is my emotional fan talking as well. And, you know how fans are. Sometimes you expect the worst, you hope for the best, and we'll see how it all unfolds. But I do like where they're at going back to New York.
No, I think it's reasonable. I think it's very reasonable. I think it would be, it almost feels like the further the Dodgers go, in my opinion, they become just a little bit more dangerous. I know starting pitching is always going to be a question. And are you going to get the Yamamoto in game 1 or the Yamamoto in game 5, or questions about
right.
Jack Flaherty? I think that's always going to be there. But I also think that, these guys can deliver on the biggest stage. I'm gonna sneak in one more quick one here, and you and I have had some conversations, and I've run into you a couple of times when I'm at the studios there. Just your opinion. What happened to the Padres? Was it a collapse? How much did it have to do with just the Dodgers? Did they make it too personal? Just your final thoughts on that one. I want to let you go. But what do you think happened to San Diego?
Well, that's a great question, and I'm sure that's what they're all trying to analyze and figure out in San Diego, because a lot of people on paper, and there were some people even in our network, who felt like the Padres were the better team going into that series, certainly the healthier team. But you mentioned the word personal, and Jerry Hairston Jr., he swore up and down that in game 2, when all that stuff was happening with Machado throwing the baseball and Profar doing some of the things and Tatis as well, he felt like that made it really personal. And, guys don't need extra motivation when you get to the postseason, but sometimes if you can get a little extra juice from something that happens, that never hurts your team. And Jerry swears up and down that moment really changed the series somewhat for the Dodgers. yes, they lost game 3. They had that one bad inning in game 3. But, game 4 and then game 5, the way that they played and the way that they pitched, it was just a good response from them. And I can't speak to why the Padres stopped hitting in those 2 games, really 2.5 games after that. That's something they're going to have to think about for a long time. And I know the Dodgers pitchers made a lot of great pitches, but, they certainly had their opportunities to change the narrative there in San Diego, because I know they felt like this was going to be their year, and then it ends up not going their way. And honestly, I haven't given much thought about why the Padres didn't end up in the NLCS. I just know why the Dodgers did. And, Jerry swears that one of those reasons is because the Padres did make it more personal.
John, thank you, brother. I appreciate you taking the time. You could follow John Hartung on Twitter at LA John Hartung. Of course, he'll be handling pre-duties, post-duties, Spectrum, Sportsnet, LA. He'll be on there getting you ready for the Dodgers-Mets Game 3. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you coming on.
Slee, thanks for having me. Go Dodgers and go Aztecs.
There you go. That's right. Throw that go Aztecs in there. Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, that's John Hartung. Way to make it work. What do you want me to do? Not have him on? We got to figure out what the hell happened. I mean, I've had a lot of guests on, just sending the link, so that one didn't work. But I appreciate his time. That's a good dude. I have a few different people that kind of run into the industry and just I'm a fan of. He's definitely one of them. He's a good dude, good person. I appreciate him taking the time and joining me on the show. So that was great. All right, let's get to a couple of your comments here. I still haven't done my Laker thing, which I do have to do. Here's what we got here. Bats went cold, 2 straight elimination games. They choked. Okay, thank you for that. Let's see. Dodgers pitching at the end was elite. Padres choke. That's it. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. No, I watched the series. I got a chance to see it. I do appreciate that analysis there that they choked. I do agree with him, by the way. I definitely agree with him when it comes to the confidence that you kind of have if you are a Dodger fan right now. Why wouldn't you? Like, I don't really understand why you wouldn't have a ton of confidence if you're a Dodger fan. And I'm not telling you that, it's going to be an easy path against the Mets, but the path to get to the World Series is right in front of you. It is right in front of you. Dodgers got a better bullpen than the Mets. Dodgers got more elite bats than the Mets. Question's going to be, and they answered that question in the first series, do you have enough starting pitching? The games, pay close attention to tonight's game, because the fact that the Dodgers and the Mets go 3, 4, 5, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 3 days in a row of Dodgers-Mets baseball, that first game that you're going to play, game 3, the first of the 3 in a row that you're going to play, just pay very close attention to. If Buehler doesn't go deep and you're using a lot of really good relievers early, then you're, how much of a concern do you have about game 4? And you just need some starting pitching, and you need to go for a little while to just you want to be able to kind of have a little bit of a luxury of using those arms. All right, speaking of which, I got one quick thing on the Padres-Dodgers series that I thought was perfect for Major League Baseball, and then I want to get into Lakers basketball. So if you guys got some thoughts, some comments, some questions, feel free to put them out there, and I'll do my best at the end of the show to try to get to them. The only reason why I want to mention Padres and Dodgers for a quick second here, ratings came out, and the ratings came out on the series, the division series. Padres-Dodgers on Fox Friday night, Game 5, averaged 7.24 million fans, and it was the most watched league division series game since 2017. So I don't think that's a big surprise or a shock. It was Game 5. There were a lot of good storylines. There were drama to the series. But I think if you're Major League Baseball, it worked out perfect for you. You got everything that you wanted. They got the battle between San Diego and Los Angeles. They got 2 teams that kind of has a brewing rivalry. They got a long series. They got the drama between Machado and Dave Roberts and Jurickson Profar and Tatis and anybody, Jack Flaherty and anybody else that was involved in those few games. You got all of that. And then they got what they really wanted. They wanted the Dodgers to win. They got that as well. You know, it's funny listening to, and I listen to a lot of sports talk radio down here in San Diego as well. Probably will eventually find my way on one of these stations at one point. But one of the things that kind of has stood out to me, and I feel like there's a lot of, you know, that's all they want. Major League Baseball just wants the Dodgers and the Yankees. Yeah, they do. Like, I don't think that's a secret, and it doesn't have to be a secret. In Major League Baseball, what is their top priority? How much money can we make? What are the ratings going to look like, and how can that equate to revenue? That's their job. They should not, if whether they want to see, you know, a smaller market team. The worst thing right now would be that it's the Guardians and the Mets in the World Series. The best thing would be it's the Dodgers and the Yankees facing each other in the World Series. We don't have to hide that. Nobody has to kind of pretend that that's the case. And frankly, I don't think you have to feel a certain way that that's probably Major League Baseball's favorite scenario. If the Lakers are in the NBA Finals and they're taking on the Boston Celtics, yeah, that's a little bit better than the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Indiana Pacers. Yeah, that's just part of the business. But I don't think if you're not in one of those markets, like I feel like there were a lot of San Diegans that were bitter about that. Don't be bitter about that. There's nothing to be bitter about. Just go beat the other team. Who gives a shit what Major League Baseball wants? You just go beat the team in front of you and get to the World Series, and that's all that matters. And whether Major League Baseball preferred you there or didn't prefer you there, it doesn't matter. But I always kind of find it funny. And again, I'll say it. Averaging 7.24 million in that Game 5 was the highest division series rating since 2017. And those are two West Coast teams. You know, and that's a 5 o'clock first pitch. We weren't talking Dodger, or we weren't talking Red Sox, Yankees, or you know, some of these other teams that are either in the Midwest and just have this great history, or some of these teams on the East Coast that have a rivalry. No, it was Padres, Dodgers, and was the highest in 7 years. And frankly, I don't care that Major League Baseball wanted Dodgers and the Yankees or Dodgers and the Mets. I understand why they wanted it. And if you're a team in another market, play the spoiler. That should be part of your job, is to play the spoiler. All right, I want to shift here for a quick second. What is a successful season for the Lakers? Talk a little Lakers basketball. I was watching some preseason yesterday. Is anybody watching preseason? Or am I the only one breaking down Dalton Connect and his 15, 14 shot attempts, whatever he took? Am I the only one looking at Rui Hachimura and saying, Rui, got to come through this year? What's a successful season for the Los Angeles Lakers? Do me a favor if you're a Laker fan. Put to the side, well, if you don't win a championship, it's not a successful season. Put that to the side for a quick second. Put to the side that the team and the franchise has 17 NBA championships. Put to the side that every year that the Lakers start playing or they start a new season, the question is, do they got a shot at a chip or do they not? Put it to the side. I'll tell you why we put it to the side. Because this team is not going to walk into the 2024-2025 season. They're not going to walk into the season as one of the favorites to win a championship, period. They're just not. And that's okay. That's when I say that's okay, as in that's realistic. Let's not fool ourselves that the Lakers are top 2 in the Western Conference. They're not. Let's not fool ourselves that the Lakers don't need almost perfect health to be in the mix here and try to make a run. Let's not fool ourselves that the Lakers don't need to find a way to eventually improve that roster as they get closer to the trade deadline. They're going to need all that stuff. They're going to need a lot of things to go their way. So when I say what is a successful season for the Lakers, what I'm asking Laker fans to do is put to the side of, well, we only win chips. And I want you to be a little bit more just realistic about this upcoming year and be honest, because I got my path here for me. They're not a top 3, top 4 team in the NBA. So that's why right now I can't sit here and look into the camera and speak into a mic and tell you that, hey, the Lakers, if it's not an NBA championship, that's a disappointment. That I don't think is realistic at this point. Here's what, in my opinion, is realistic in the expectations as far as the Lakers. And here's what I would say is a success this upcoming year. Can you be a top 5 seed in the Western Conference? Can you stop digging yourself a hole that in the final couple weeks of the season, you're basically fighting to keep your head above water so you don't drown in the middle of the Western Conference pool. Can you be a team that by the time you get to mid-March, early April, hey, I like our positioning. We're still going to fight here. We're still going to try to see, can we get home court, whoever you're fighting with in that number 4 spot? Or maybe you're locked into number 5, but you're not locked into a position where if we lose 2 games in a row, we're back in the play-in tournament. We got to play a couple of extra games. We might be in a situation where it's 1 game, win or go home at Crypto.com Arena. I want them to get out of that mess. And they've been in that mess the last couple of years. And I do think it's hurt them. And I do think it's kind of take a little bit of the wind out of their sails as they get to the postseason, especially for a team that's got a LeBron James who's going to turn 40 years old by the time we get to January 1st. Here's what I would tell you is a successful season for the Lakers. Be a top 5 seed in the Western Conference. Be a team that when you get to the playoffs, everyone is looking at and saying, yeah, I don't want to face the Los Angeles Lakers. That's a dangerous team for whatever reasons. However, the Lakers are dangerous. Maybe they're dangerous because Anthony Davis is having an MVP type of season. Maybe they're dangerous because LeBron is still giving you 22, 6, and 6 a game. And when he's in there, he could still kind of control a lot of things. Maybe they're dangerous because Rui Hachimura, D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis is one of the best starting 5s out there in the league. Maybe they're dangerous because all of a sudden you look at the bench and you're like, damn, Gabe Vincent gives them really good minutes. Wow, Jared Vanderbilt can come in and change the entire scope of the Lakers defense when he's in the game. Man, Max Christie in his 3rd year is really, really making some great strides. Dalton Knecht is a pure sniper in the NBA, and you got to watch out for this guy. JJ Redick, whatever doubts that you had about JJ Redick, you know what? This guy actually looks very comfortable in the NBA, and you could tell he's going to be a head coach for years to come. That's what I mean by the time the playoffs start. Be a top 5 team in the Western Conference. Come playoff time, everybody's looking at you and saying, that's a healthy team. They can make a run this postseason, and if we could avoid playing them, let's avoid playing them. And then the last thing I'll say of what I would say would make a successful season is that front office finally makes a move. That front office puts this team and this organization in a position with those 2 first-rounders that they have where they've been kind of standing in the middle. Either you completely rebuild, which the Lakers are not going to do, and I wouldn't argue that they should rebuild, or you go all in because you got LeBron, you got Anthony Davis, and every single day that goes by, your clock is ticking of having a chance to compete. It's going to be up to that front office, in my opinion, to make some type of move with those 2 first-rounders that they have to improve that roster. So if you take all of that, what makes a successful season for the Los Angeles Lakers? You're in it in the Western Conference and you stop digging yourself a hole. You're top 5 in the West. Your front office makes a move before the trade deadline, so now you have a legitimate chance to try to make some noise in the playoffs. You're healthy and you're dangerous going into the postseason, and then I think from there, the last thing that I will say, because there's no guarantees that you're going to make real noise in the playoffs and in the postseason, you're somewhere hovering around that West semis, and everybody's saying to themselves, yeah, these top 4 teams left in the Western Conference, the Lakers got a legitimate shot. You can't guarantee championships. You can't guarantee a long playoff run. You can't guarantee health. So as I sit here today on October 16th, talking Lakers basketball at 8:54 a.m., that to me, as I check off the things off the list that has the recipe of a successful season for the Lakers, that to me would be my blueprint. All of those things could also not happen. Lakers can have health issues all season long. They can be right back in that 8, 9, or 10 fighting for that play-in spot. And then they could also find themselves in a position that either they don't make the playoffs or they're just in the play-in. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I don't think that part's going to be really an issue. But they can also find themselves with a really low seed or high seed and then have to play one of the elite teams, and then they're out in the first round again in 5 games. And then if somebody tells me again that, yeah, Al, but they really hung with the Denver Nuggets. Yeah, but they lost in 5 games, or they were swept the year before. That could also very well happen again. And, frankly, I'm not really sure what the front office will do. I know that it sounded like they've been promoting for the last couple of years, hey, don't worry, we got 3 first rounders. We're going to be aggressive. Hey, don't worry. We got 2 first rounders. We're going to go out and try to make a move if it makes sense. And here we are now walking into this next season. They still haven't done anything. Literally nothing happened in the offseason. What happened in the offseason? They drafted Dalton Connect and they drafted Bronny. That's all that happened in the offseason. And many of the storylines so far in the offseason have only been about that, have been about LeBron playing with Bronny. So something to keep in mind there, and that's the best way that I would put it. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's take a look at some of these comments here. It takes two. If no one wants to deal with the Lakers, what can you do? I think what you can do, I think it's a good question. I think what you could do is I think you can have you got to set better expectations coming into the season or coming into the offseason. I think one of the things that Rob Pelinka did that I think hurt him, I felt like he set an expectation like the Los Angeles Lakers were going to do something, that there was a good chance that they would make a move. And then, all of a sudden, if that doesn't happen, now you set some expectations. I was in sales for a number of years, right? You guys kind of know a little bit my story. I did 5 years selling a local sports radio station out here in San Diego. I did 10 years selling at 710 ESPN up in Los Angeles, marketing partnerships, all that thing. Do you want to know what my foundation and my philosophy was? And I had tremendous success in sales, and I like doing sales. I like the business side of things. I like the concept of it. And here I am now running my own business, trying to do the same thing. I can't sell anything if my life depended on it at the moment, but we'll get there. But one of my philosophies, and I learned it from a young age, and everybody's heard this before: under promise, over deliver. Under promise, over deliver. I would always under promise. I would always under promise to my accounts out there, to the partnerships, and I'd always have it in my mind: whatever the hell I promise you, I'm gonna over deliver. And I thought Rob Pelinka these last year and a half or so, and to go back to the question out there, well, it takes two to tango. My problem was more to do with Rob Pelinka. Pelinka, you overpromised and you underdelivered. It almost sounded like, hey, it's a guarantee Lakers are going to go out there and they're going to make some moves. I would have much rather Rob Pelinka say, guys, look, I understand that I have 3 first-round picks, but I got to be smart with them. I'm going to be smart with them. If a deal presents itself, then I'm going to go out there and make a deal. But I'm not going to promise anything to Laker fans because there's a lot of things that happen in the background. You have no idea what happens when it comes to negotiations and everything else. So I don't want to promise anything to anybody. And if a deal comes through, just know that I did it because I felt like it was a good move for the organization from a short-term perspective and a long-term perspective. That's all you have to say. That's all you have to say. Then all those other beat writers and everybody else that's writing articles are basically saying, yeah, Pelinka's not committing to anything. I didn't feel like Pelinka did that. I felt like there were a lot of times Rob set an expectation that he has not been able to fulfill. Under promise, over deliver. Anybody in business and in sales, that is the way to run your business. Lakers' best case scenario: top 6 seed with Rui and D'Lo playing well enough to get traded into something that makes us contenders. That's a good point. Yeah, I think D'Lo is, one trade deadline away from being traded, just like he has been for the last year and a half. Rui, I don't have as much confidence in that you're going to get a consistent play from Rui. I was talking about Rui yesterday. I was doing a little post-game here on YouTube, and I spent a little time on Rui. And the time that I spent talking about Rui was exactly that. Like, I'm not 100% confident that Rui Hachimura is going to be there on a night in, night out basis, giving you what I think the Lakers need and the contract that they gave him. Lakers need to make their moves before the deadline. Don't wait too long. Yeah, I there's something to that. I think everybody, I feel like, in the NBA is waiting for that first move to go down, and they feel like they can get a better deal at the end of, towards the end of the trade deadline. The problem is I think there's also a lot of competition at the end of the trade deadline. If you can find a good deal and that deal's coming in mid-December or mid-January, jump on it. Maybe there's less buyers out there. Because I think what's happened right now in the NBA, and this has kind of been the case, because now you have the play-in tournament, because you got technically 10 teams that are in the mix that are going to make the playoffs. And then whoever the fringe is, the Houston Rockets, like this past year, they were sitting at number 11. They thought they can make a run. I think there's a lot of teams now in today's NBA that think they got a shot at making the playoffs, and it drives up the price. All right, let's see what else we got here. Salesmanship is the best skill set. You're 100% right. You're 100% right. I encourage anybody, whatever business that you're in, whatever you do, learn how your company makes money. If you know how your company makes money, you are truly, truly a value and an asset for years to come. You know how I started Lakers Talk? This should be a story one of these days. Lakers Talk, I started it back in 2016. I started Lakers Talk with the idea of obviously wanting to talk Lakers basketball, but I approached it completely from a business perspective with, our general manager there. Basically showed him that, hey, you give me this slot, 9 a.m. on a Saturday. I'm going to deliver the content. Trust me, I know my Lakers basketball inside and out. Trust me, Laker fans, I think, will like what my opinion is. And, oh, by the way, I'll make sure that 1 hour at 9 a.m. on Saturday after Dr. Clapper, I'll make sure it's sold. I'll make sure we have sponsors and partners that are there as well. So it's kind of a no-brainer. It's like, all right, I got a guy that's driven to want to talk Lakers, want to add local content to the station. And, oh, by the way, he's got some partnerships that are ready to go. We can make money off of it. So, yes, salesmanship is the best skill set. Everybody should know how to sell or have experience from it. Let's see what we got here. A couple more here and we'll get the hell out of here. Bronny should still be in the NCAA. Well, he got $8 million, so I don't think he needs to be. I mean, I guess with NIL now he can make that money, but I don't think he. Obviously, whatever those days were in the past, don't pay any attention to it. He's in the league now. I just hope it's not, a distracting story all year, even though it could very, very well be a distracting story all year long. Costas, thank you for the super buddy. Lakers aren't doing anything. Deep down, we all know that. P.S. The invite to Greece will be open whenever you go. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you very much. Okay, my people, that's all I got. Thank you for kind of sticking around with technical difficulties with John Hartung, and I greatly appreciate him joining the show and hanging out for today's show as well. Thank you again for being a part of the show. Dodgers got the Mets coming up. It's game 3, a little bit later tonight at 5:08, not at 5:05, not at 5:10, but at 5:08. So that's going to be coming up. Walker Buehler on the mound, and we are less than a week away of Los Angeles Lakers basketball starting. So obviously we're going to continue to have a lot of conversations about the Lakers. My people, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for being a part of the show. Hope you guys have a good rest of your Wednesday. And we will get back with you guys tomorrow morning. Thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your day.